You know that Joaquin Phoenix movie where he plays a trauma survivor, caring for his elderly mother, and is also a serial killer? No, not the Joker. This one. You Were Never Really Here. It's one I seen a while back, and whenever I bring this up to people looking for movie recommendations, it seems like nobody's seen it. Whether they remember the poster or not, but that's like as far as it seems to go. And when I seen this movie, it has stuck with me for a few reasons. Not only the messaging of the story and its like depth to it, but also there's one sequence in particular which is just fucking incredible, and I will come on to that. Plus, this film was written and directed by a Scot, Lynne Ramsay, so you know, representing the country and all that. In this one, Joaquin Phoenix plays Joe. He is a very damaged individual. He is suffering from very serious PTSD, and we'll come on to that. And he's in the line of work of, yeah, just killing people. He's a hitman for hire. This movie is not your standard hitman movie. It's quite a bit different for a few reasons. The first one, and let's just look at surface level, he's not a hitman that's got his shit together. You see a lot of these movies with hitmen, and they've got their own rules, they've got their own conduct, and they have a pattern. You know, they've got a system in place for doing the jobs.
Call it.
Joe has that kind of. He has almost like an agency for getting jobs, but once he has that and a target in mind, it's kind of just on him to do it the way he wants. He's mentioned to be fucking brutal, and he's recommended on that basis.
McCleary said you were brutal.
I can be.
And we get a few instances of that before the actual job takes place, and yeah, fuck me, Joaquin Phoenix looks the part for this movie, and he is terrifying.
Don't make me wait!
His house is a little bit of a mess. As I said, he's caring for his mother, and he's still looking after her, even down to just wiping up the bathroom floor. Now, taking this beyond just surface level, he is deeply troubled, and we see every moment of it in a number of different ways. We see his organisation, we see his trauma, we see his scars, we see flashbacks and his coping methods. We see it all in this movie, and it's delivered to us in quite an invasive way when you're watching a movie. As an audience member, if you know the movie's going to have these moments in it, you'd expect it to be delivered maybe through a conversation, or maybe through a nice transition over. This movie does not ease you into them. They just hard cut here to where the trauma stemmed from, you know, those flashback moments with his coping methods, and it feels like it's invading the movie, much like it is invading his mind. There are quite a few times where you see him having a moment of peace, and that is when they come in as well, so he can't even just sit and relax for 5 to 10 minutes. He needs to be doing something or the thoughts come back. And when it cuts to one of his coping methods or cuts to one of these flashbacks, you're not quite sure how it pieces together, and I'm not going to lie, I was, and you'll be sitting watching the TV like a dog slightly confused doing head tilts. He's a war veteran. He's subduing his own trauma by helping to relieve others of their trauma. He's a good guy in a way. You watch this movie and you don't think for a moment he's a good guy, but he is. The jobs he takes are exclusively looking and helping find missing girls. And the job we take here is a missing girl that's been sold into a sex trafficking ring, so it's heavy stakes for him. Now, although the stakes are heavy, and like I said, he is a good guy, he is brutal to the abductors, which is totally understandable, and also any abusers, anyone else there. He is here with one goal in mind: do the job, help the girl, and get the fuck out of there. The job he takes at the start of the movie to find this particular missing girl, that isn't the entirety of the plot here. He finds her around the halfway point. Shit then obviously goes down and the movie progresses, kind of looking for her again, but that simple mission of go to the sex trafficking ring and find her, yeah, that's about half of the movie. He finds her once and she gets taken again, so he needs to find her a second time. He needs to find her because, of course, she's going through something fucking horrific, but he needs to find her for himself. There's a beautiful sequence in this movie which just, without words, shows just how ready he is to give up on everything. This movie is based on a book, and there's a line in there which just perfectly sums up this entire movie and his character. He felt himself diminishing, a shadow around the edges of his mind, and he heard a voice say, "It's all right, you can go. You were never really here." He feels as though he's a ghost. He feels like if he just left, nobody would even notice he was gone. That is so heavy in this film, and you feel it in every moment, every action he takes. If it wasn't for the job and having that goal in mind, he has nothing. He needs it to keep himself going. Not that he's a selfish vigilante by any means, but it does give him that sense of purpose that he needs to keep on going. This movie in particular is very show don't tell. When it comes to him coping, the methods, the flashbacks, his own trauma, whilst we see them in the movie, nobody really talks about them. They're out of sequence. You can then piece them together. You can take from it what you will. You can take the surface level that, yeah, clearly he's gone through some anxiety, some PTSD for a moment, or when this movie's over, you can think back, piece them together in order, and you can work out from childhood to where he is now, pretty much the main beats that make him the man he is in front of you. And fuck me, the score in this movie is unbelievable. You know when they say a really good score is one that you don't notice? You notice it here, and it's not bad by any means. They use a very unnerving and unsettling score.
I meant you in many ways.
Some of the things that were put today are true and some are not true. There's no question.
Because obviously that's what the movie wants you to feel, but trust me, you're already feeling it. That score comes in and just enhances that feeling for yourself. Fucking works. Like, you're on edge most of this movie, and not necessarily whether he'll come out alive or not. You're just on edge. And that scene that stuck with me. So when he's going to find the girl for the first time, she's in this complex of quite a few floors, and the way it's delivered to us for the first few minutes is just through the CCTV cameras. There's 4 or 5 in the complex going across various floors, from the main entrance right up to the hallways outside her room. And it cycles through them one at a time, and it spends the same amount of time on each, and it goes to the next one in sequence. It's very much just going through them in order, over and over again. And it's through the cameras that we see him taking over this complex. It might cut back to a camera and there's nothing happening in it. There could be nobody in the frame. But then you're just waiting for the next camera, whether somebody's going to appear. Is it going to be a witness? Is it going to be Joe? Is he going to murder someone in the next frame? Whilst you're seeing it, it just cuts to the next one. You know these cuts are coming, but you just don't know what's going to be on the next frame. I fucking loved it. It was a tremendous moment in this movie. The whole film was great, but there are several fantastic sequences which show all sides of Joe. His emotions when he's almost giving up, his fucking brutality through the CCTV, or his drive to find the girl. For a man of very few words, this is what I mean by show don't tell. You understand him completely by the movie's end. And he didn't tell you a bit of it. Whilst the plot is pretty simplistic, Hitman goes to find a girl, this is probably one of the heaviest movies I've ever watched. You know that way where there might be tension in a room and you can almost feel it? That's what you get watching this movie when it's playing. There just feels like an atmosphere in the room. I might be overlooking it. You know that way where you might turn off the TV but you can still feel it there, you can still feel it playing on you? That's this movie in a nutshell. I'd like to say I had a great time with this movie, which I did, and I didn't. And the only reason I'm putting that caveat in there so I don't sound like a psychopath. It is a fucking fantastic movie, but it's not one that you can just sit casually with some friends and watch while chit-chatting. You're locked in here. Joaquin Phoenix absolutely kills it in this role as much as everyone else in the movie. He is such a versatile actor, and I don't know if it's this movie that then set him up to play the Joker. From this movie to then Joker to then Beau is Afraid, he can tap into mental health and depict it so well, and it seems flawless, but at the same time it feels like it's taken a toll on him. Whether that's all acting or whether that's him wearing his heart on his sleeve, I don't know. But all I will say is this role was great, and I couldn't imagine anyone else in here. That is all I've got to say on You Were Never Really Here. So before heading off, hit that like button, it helps push this out to more people, and if you haven't yet, hit subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me, it keeps me doing what I'm doing, and I love it. And now with all that being said, as always, thank you so much for watching.